Feel free to step on up if you like. All right, everyone's ready? So I just had a chat with some young leaders and talked about what's going on in Canada, given recent incidents, what that means to young people. And a lot of powerful things came out of this conversation. Talked about one thing that I got to quote Musa on, asymmetrical symmetry, and the fact that, or asymmetrical scrutiny, the fact that the way people who are racialized or people of color, indigenous communities, the way they're scrutinized and the way other people are scrutinized. But also something that came out of our discussion was that if we've got a country where the Prime Minister, and it's not about Mr. Trudeau, it's about the institution, about that position. If someone at that level is mocking the lived realities of people who face challenges, who face barriers, who face physical violence, insults, can't get the jobs that they need, economic barriers, housing challenges, healthcare outcomes. If someone mocks that reality, it's no wonder that the policies also are similarly lacking in the strength to tackle the problems. So when Mr. Trudeau doesn't realize that marginalized people need access to healthcare and doesn't invest in healthcare, it makes sense because the Prime Minister of this country is mocking people for what they're going through. And really, we've got to talk about the systemic problems that exist in our society and how we can tackle them. So how we invest in healthcare, how we invest in housing, how we invest in public transit, how we address the criminal justice system and make real changes to address the historic and ongoing systemic racism. So that's something we got to chat about today. And donc je veux dire en français. On a eu des conversations aujourd'hui avec la jeunesse. On a parlé avec des étudiants, des leaders qui ont parlé de leur expérience et qui ont parlé de le fait que c'est quoi l'impact de le Premier ministre du Canada qui se moque d'eux. Ils parlent de le fait qu'ils ne se sentent chez eux, ils ne se sentent pas comme ils sont chez eux. Et ils se sentent comme ils n'ont pas une partie de la société. Mais aussi le fait que quelqu'un comme Premier ministre qui se moque des gens à cause de leurs défis, ça aussi a un impact, ça influence les politiques, les décisions que le gouvernement prend. Et ça, c'est quelque chose qu'il faut changer. Donc, il faut investir dans les soins de santé parce que ce sont des communautés racisées, défavorisées qui sont plus touchées par des manques de ressources. Il faut investir dans le transport en commun, dans les logements abordables parce que encore c'est les communautés racisées, les communautés minoritaires, les communautés défavorisées qui ont moins d'accès à ces services. Donc, c'était une conversation puissante, mais je sais qu'il y a plus de travail à faire. Mais on commence avec des conversations avec des gens qui sont impactés par ce qui s'est passé. And thank you so much for being here again, and I'm ready to answer any of your questions. We don't have a mic this time. We're just going to... No, okay, we're going to go to you, and then we'll go here. One off, it's not about Mr. Trudeau. And I think that's something that's been missing this. The focus has been on giving him a label, whether he's racist or not. The focus has been often on, do we accept his apology or not? It's not about Mr. Trudeau. It's about the Prime Minister of Canada making decisions that have a track record based on a behavior that mocks people's reality. The policies also continue that same tradition, that continue on that same pattern. And so the message is, let's focus on people. Let's focus on the young people who are not feeling like they belong to Canada. Young people who are wondering if they would be exposed to the same level of scrutiny. Would a young turban Sikh get the same pass that a white man Prime Minister of Canada is getting right now? Those are some legitimate questions that these young folks are asking, that Canadians are asking. And those are some of the questions we need to answer.
D'abord, en français, s'il vous plaît, vous allez donner un message à M. Trudeau. Ce sera une conversation qui va être privée. Est-ce qu'il y a quelque chose que ces jeunes-là vous ont dit que vous aimeriez relayer au Premier ministre?
Oui, beaucoup. Le fait que la jeunesse n'accepte pas que c'était une erreur de la jeunesse. Il parle de le fait qu'il y a des impacts de maintenant à cause de quelqu'un qui se moque des défis qui font face les jeunes, la population canadienne, les communautés minoritaires et un premier ministre qui se moque des gens à cause de leurs défis a une influence aux décisions qu'il prend. Donc on parle d'investissement dans le logement abordable, investissement dans le transport en commun, les changements dans la justice criminelle et les lois. Un exemple que j'ai dit que si on accepte qu'il y a le racisme systémique, pourquoi le gouvernement libéral a voté contre un projet de loi pour en fait abolir les bilans criminels de quelqu'un qui était jugé par une possession personnelle d'un petit montant de cannabis, par exemple. Donc, on a des réalités qui sont informées par des politiques de quelqu'un qui se moque des les gens qui font face des défis.
Mais est-ce que vous n'êtes pas en train de peser un peu pesant sur la pédale? Les gens semblent dire c'est fini, il s'est excusé, c'est terminé, mais vous continuez à marteler ce message-là. Est-ce que vous n'avez pas peur que ça va se retourner contre vous à un moment donné?
Non, parce que où je veux donner la focus, l'emphase, c'est sur les gens qui sont touchés et comment on peut vraiment réagir. Ce n'est pas une excuse, ce n'est pas le Premier ministre qui donne une excuse qui va régler le problème. C'est les politiques, l'impact sur les politiques. On a donné quelques exemples. Un exemple fort, c'est le fait qu'on a quelqu'un qui est une personne au public et une autre personne dans la vie privée. Et le fait qu'en privé, il se moque des communautés autochtones, il se moque des communautés racisées, et en public, il donne des autres paroles. Donc, il donne des belles paroles, mais les lois sont continuellement les lois qui avantagent les plus riches, pas les gens qui ont besoin d'aide.
Mr. Singh, I'm wondering why it was important for you to reach out to the communities both in Hamilton and here. And if anybody's willing to talk, what was the impact of having the leader of the federal party come and reach out to you directly after everything that happened? What is the impact on you personally?
I can speak on my behalf, and I'm sure maybe someone will afterwards be prepared to respond to you. But I can say for me, it was very important because when I first saw what happened, I thought about the impact it had on people. And I can tell you personally, I resisted and was able to defend myself against people that were judging me because of my appearance, but I know many people could not. And that's where I became quite emotional, thinking about the people that weren't able to defend themselves, people who can't fight back against racism in their lives, who can't challenge the barriers that they face. And so I really want the focus to be on the people that are impacted. And reaching out to people is important because it's young people that are going to feel the pain of this. It's young people that are going to live with a country where the Prime Minister thinks it's okay to mock people's realities, lived experiences. And that has informed decisions that he's made. And it's important for me that we talk to the people that are impacted. We talk to young people, and we talk to community members that are feeling the pain right now, or feeling like they don't belong, or feeling like they've got to prove why this is wrong. That's another thing that came up. People have said, well, why is it that people that, racialized people, Black, Indigenous, people of color have to justify why this was wrong? And in that moment, we kind of had a bit of a laugh. It's like, it's pretty absurd that obviously this has a negative impact, but why is it that people impacted have to explain why it hurts? It should be obvious.
You mentioned that there are a number of changes that need to happen. Where do you start? Where would an NDP government start at trying to tackle systemic racism?
Well, we know systemic racism is such that it impacts every single area of life. Education, health, employment are all areas where people who are most vulnerable are most impacted. So investments in public transit will help marginalized communities. Investments in healthcare, universal pharmacare will help marginalized people. If we look at the justice system and say, let's change our approach, we're calling for an end to carding. Why is it that people walking down the street are stopped because of the color of their skin? That needs to end. Why is it that Black, Indigenous, and people of color are overrepresented in jails? We need to end that. We're proposing solutions to end that. We've also called for expunging records. It's a very powerful step to say there was a historic injustice. Black, Indigenous, people of color were stopped more often, were charged more often, and were convicted more often because of the color of their skin, because of their identity, and that's meant that they face more barriers for education, for employment, for opportunities to travel. And so we've got to address those outcomes that come from systemic racism. And that's, in fact, in helping everybody. Because if we help everybody, if we invest in everybody, we're helping those most vulnerable as well.
Mr. Singh, if I could take you back to your last event, which was in Essex, I think it's an interesting riding because it's an NDP versus Conservative fight, which is unusual. I'm wondering what your message is to voters or what your strategy is to court, especially rural voters, when it is between the NDP and the right.
Well, so when I say to folks that look at the decisions they have in front of them, it's really clear that what Conservatives do is they promise to put a little bit of money in your pocket. And what they do is they put money in the pockets of the wealthiest, and then they cut services for people who need it most. And we can look no further than Mr. Ford here in Ontario, who cut funding to some of the most vulnerable people, students. Students who want to be able to pursue their education are now telling me that it's so impossible to get OSAP. It's difficult to be able to fund their education. These are people who are the best and brightest, people who want to make sure can go on to contribute to Canada, and they're starting off their careers or their education not being able to afford it because of Mr. Ford. And that is exactly what Conservatives do. So I tell people in any rural community, you know, Mr. Scheer is going to talk about giving you a little bit of money. But what he's really going to do is going to give money to his wealthy, powerful friends, those at the very top, and he's going to cut the services that you and your family depend on, and it's going to hurt. And our plan is to save families money. When we put in place things like universal access to medication, that will save families on average $550 a year. When we put in things like dental care for all, so that anyone who earns less than $70,000 a year can have access to dental services, that's going to save families. A family of four, an average of $1,200 a year. These are real savings that are going to help people out.
My second question.
No problem.
Just want to talk a little bit about earlier you said you wanted the conversation to be private.
Yes.
Why?
I don't want the conversation that I have with Mr. Trudeau to be used as a tool in his exoneration or to be used as a way for him to say, I've had a conversation with a racialized leader and now I've done my job. That's up to Canadians to answer whether they're satisfied. It's up to Canadians to say whether they're happy with his responses. That's up to Canadians to decide. I don't want to be a part of in somehow helping him or the Liberal Party do their PR campaign to remedy this. I'm open to a conversation. If Mr. Trudeau wants to have a sincere conversation, I'm open to that. Not as of yet, but his office has reached out to mine, and I've indicated that if it's private, I'm willing to have that conversation. Thanks so much. Thank you, everybody. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. So quick, who does want to talk about it?